Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing great. Sorry about the shades, but it is bright. The sun is just coming out. Good morning. If you're watching this in the afternoon, because I don't know when I'm going to put it up, good afternoon. So I've got a couple good things. Now we're going to talk about inflation and deflation. No, we're going to just talk about inflation. We're going to talk about Milton Friedman. I'm going to straight up say it right now. Milton Friedman was wrong. I had to get that out of the way. There's a bunch of collective going on YouTube right now because they're going, oh my gosh, my YouTube economics degree is failing me. No, it's not. Don't worry about it. Milton Friedman actually put out amazing work. And before I go on, let me explain. Milton Friedman was an American economist. He lived from, I got in my notes, from 1912 to 2006. And why I say Milton Friedman was wrong, let's see if we can take these off. Got to get a little more personal with you guys. Was simply because he passed away right before the Federal Reserve did something that it had never done before. Now, the debate's going on right now on this channel, right? And it's only by people that aren't subscribers. It's so great. Every time I see somebody that gets their feathers ruffled by a thought that is outside their scope of knowledge, right? Something that they have never thought of before. You know, they're usually really fast. You know, their thumbs are going a million miles a minute. They're throwing off a comment rather than thinking, and they say something stupid like, I cannot believe that you cannot see that inflation is purely due to an increase in the money supply. I am unsubscribing. I don't know if you guys know this little tidbit, us content, I haven't even called myself a content creator, but we actually know who is a subscriber and who is not in the comment section. And I love it. Why? Because every single time I've ever seen that unsubscribe comment, and I always say, yeah, don't let the hard drive slap you on the butt on the way out. When you unsubscribe, I actually know that you're not a subscriber. So it's, we don't care about your opinion, but that's cool. I love it. So I'm going to talk right now about an amazing comment from an amazing subscriber. And he has been with me for a long time, Free Marketeer. And if you have not followed him, he does have a YouTube channel. I don't know how active you are. I haven't seen you lately. Sorry. But he does comment from time to time on the channel. And this is an amazing comment. We're going to talk about Milton. Here we go. Free Marketeer on YouTube, okay? Inflation is a singularity in economics. As a singularity. Ninja can't read. He's much better at writing than I am, by the way. Inflation as a singularity in economics is based on Milton Friedman around 50 years ago. He was a monetary theorist, so he based it a little too simply, especially in today's environment. There are so many more inputs to pricing and inflation. Amen. Sorry, that's me. He didn't say that. The debt and derivatives market expansion is a huge factor, and these can be wiped out. Oh, lost it. These can be wiped out into a deflationary spiral almost immediately. It's understanding the system and the incentives to those who make monetary decisions. Man, I definitely could not say it better myself, and you guys know that because I'm the ninja. And not the brightest bulb in the box, but I do shine. I do shine. It might not be the brightest, but right now I'm bright. My future's bright, so I got to put shades on. Sorry. So let's talk about what he said. He's absolutely right, okay? So Milton Friedman passed away in 2006, right before the Fed pulled a rabbit out of a hat that just blew us away, right? And I'm going to be honest with you, guys, you get to hear this first. Well, I've said it many times. I was wrong. When I started researching inflationary cycles, currency cycles in 2010, I thought for sure with the invention of quantitative easing and the explosion in the money supply that we were going to see heavy inflation, hyperinflation, gold and silver are going to go crazy. But I was wrong, and we're going to explain that in just a second, okay? But first, I want to give you Milton Friedman's famous quote that everybody seems to quote, but it's not in Webster's dictionary under inflation, okay? This is from an economist, not a dictionary, okay? I want to drive that point home across. Even though Merriam-Webster's does use inflation being a product of increasing money supply over time, that is one of their examples. It's not the only inflation definition, all right? Inflation, and this is from Milton, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon in the sense that it is and can be produced only by a more rapid increase in the quantity of money than in output. Okay, now that is a quote directly from Milton, okay? And Free Marketeer is completely right. He was very loose with that, okay? There's a lot more at play. Now let's explain what the Federal Reserve did after Milton died. When Lehman Brothers collapsed, and obviously it was a combination of many, many factors, from Bear Stearns, the mortgage-backed securities fiasco, all that craziness, the stock market went into what is now known as the Great Recession, right? It was horrible. I believe that what's coming next is way bigger, trust me, but, well, don't trust me. Don't trust anything I say. I'm gonna do with a brohawk and a dream. But what happened was the Fed had to do something and they had to act quick. So they started to print money, okay? And everybody said that. It was quantitative easing, it was printing of money. That is true. They made money out of thin air. Now, there's two different types of money, and I'm gonna break this down very simply, that the Federal Reserve produces. It produces money for things like quantitative easing, where it bought mortgage-backed securities, and we'll talk about that. The other way is that it convinces the government, the federal government, to borrow money, and that's what it really wants to do. It wants all the money to be borrowed from the federal government, okay? It cannot get back that money with interest unless the federal government borrows it, right? And allows them, because it's a private business. I want people to understand the Federal Reserve is a private institution owned by banks. People need to realize that. So the federal government has to agree, vote, and sign off. Okay, we're gonna borrow all this money because craziness is going on that you started, but they're not gonna say that. And then we're gonna owe it back to you with interest. That's what the Federal Reserve loves to do. And they just have the ability to just make ones and zeros on computers and go, here you go, money, money, money. Just throwing it up, making it rain. That's what they like. But the other part, the first part, the other way they make money is what they did with quantitative easing. They just create money, right? Then nobody owes it back to them, but they took that money and they bought bad debt, all right? And we're gonna use mortgage-backed securities as an example. After Lehman Brothers collapsed under the weight of the MBS fiasco, what happened was the Federal Reserve knew that if somebody didn't jump in and start buying up this bad debt, the debt that was, you know, salted with good debt, and it was packaged in a nice shiny box to look good. Thanks S&P and Fitch, score. That it was going to continue to collapse in value, and since those securities were being held in pension funds and in retirement accounts, just as straight investments, people were going to lose their life savings. So someone had to buy it up. So the Federal Reserve made up all this money, and they said, all right, let's say Wachovia, you've got this much crap debt. Bank of America, you got this much crap debt. All these guys, you guys, all the hedge funds got these crap debt. We're going to buy it. All right, so we're gonna buy it. So we're gonna print up some money and we're gonna give it to you, right? And what they did is they took that bad debt and they just set it off to the side. They just set it there. Like, we're gonna keep that on our balance sheet. It's not the government's, it's our balance sheet. It's just sitting there, right? And then when the time comes, we'll try and sell it that crap back into the market when the economy's doing well and we can hide it. We're just gonna, I'm breaking this down very, very simply. So I got this over here, right? Well, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he said, you know, after this last video I did where people are getting fired up and, oh, it's an increase of money supply causes inflation. I said, that's not true, because look, quantitative easing blew up the money supply. You know, back, if you compared the amount of money in 2006 that were created and then looked at 2015, the money supply exploded, right? But we didn't see inflation. I asked my buddy, I said, what happened to fuel prices? Fuel actually went down from 2008 to 2015. It actually went down nationwide. Food prices, they didn't explode. Yet, you know, housing went up, but that's because interest rates dove down from 2009 till 2015. Interest rates were just on a steady downhill climb. So homes went up in value because people could afford more. That's a totally different dynamic. And he goes, yeah, you're right. It did not go up. And I said, well, this is the example. The Federal Reserve can double the money supply, triple it, whatever. If they go take that money and just go set it in a warehouse and it doesn't go anywhere, then inflation doesn't happen. It's not until that money hits the street and the people or the banks, the speculators go and spend it in the economy, you have more money than goods and services. That's when inflation happens, right? So the Fed literally pulled a rabbit out of the hat, and Milton wasn't around to see this happen. It was the first time this had ever really happened, and it was getting so crazy at the time. They were doing QE1, 2, 3, then they had, crap, this isn't working because now people are starting to figure out our game. We got to change the name, so we did Operation Twist. Like that was going to work. Well, ironically it did, because people, you know, sort of went blindsided. But then the markets got just addicted to this. They got addicted to this stimulus, because they were able to sell their crap and then take their money, right, and dive it into equities and things like that. So that part did inflate because these hedge funds, these banks that had all this crap debt, sold it to the Fed. They took that money and they pushed it into the stock market and they speculated on stocks, tech stocks, all kinds of stocks. Now that rose over time, right? But you didn't see food go up. You didn't see fuel go up, things like that. You saw stocks go up, equities, right? So that's my whole point, is that inflation isn't just one thing. You don't just create money and it causes inflation, all right? Now, we've seen times where money has hit the street, like in 2020, and the markets shut down and everything went to crap, and the Federal Reserve injected through the government signed off on this, stimulus checks, right? Those checks went into people's hands and we saw that blow up all kinds of asset classes because that money hit the street and immediately went to work in the real economy. So you saw that. So my thing is really educating people that there is way more to inflation than just creating money. There's so many more market dynamics, but if you want to say on the most basic level, the most important thing about knowing about inflation is yes, increased money supply will eventually lead to high inflation. Like this is all these factors right now are coming home to roost right now. And but the most important thing about inflation is velocity. If velocity is slow, then you don't see that inflation because it's that money's sitting off there. When it starts to pick up and it's hitting the street, that's when it's time to be scared. And quite frankly, that's happening right now. And again, bringing in deflation, when we start to see things like the freight index collapsing, or not the freight index, but the cost of shipping, when the same amount of truckers are here that were here 2 months ago trying to get loads, but the cost of shipping that you can charge is falling, it's because there's not as many freight loads to move, okay? That's because, and we're in the beginning stages, we're in round one, first month. I believe you're gonna see it next month, and it's because people are buying less disposable crap because inflation is picking up at a very serious pace and they have less disposable income, okay? So there's less freight being moved, more necessities and less disposable crap, all right? I hope you guys got something out of this. Free Marketeer, thank you so much for that comment. And guys, just so you know too, last little caveat, I don't truly get fired up. I love, 99% of the comments are so amazing. You guys are awesome. It's that 1% that just want to run around, with their thumbs acting like a Karen in all caps, and they don't even have a profile picture of themselves, because they're a coward. But they're like that. I love pointing that crap out because people call a spade, and it's good to call out idiocy. I mean, it really is, because it makes the smart people like you guys, NinjaNation, feel normal. So hey, congratulations, guys, you're crushing it. All right, guys. That being said, I thank you so much for watching. The Economic Ninja is out.